All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. The waiver wire. Mike will alternate here back and forth. We each have 3 waiver wire suggestions this week. Let's start with yours.
All right, so if we're going to go to one who's available in at least 50% of Yahoo leagues, the first one I'll start with is Malaki Branham of the Spurs. He's available in 73% of Yahoo leagues. He's averaging just over 18 points, 3.9 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 2.4 threes, while shooting just under 52% from the field over the last 8 games. Who knows when DiVincenzo is going to return? The Spurs obviously have nothing left to play for other than a high draft pick. Trey Jones has missed a lot of time recently with an injury. They're probably not in any rush to bring him back. They got rid of Josh Richardson. They did bring in Devontae Graham, who feels like the perfect fit for a tanking team because he can soak up minutes and actually improve your chances of losing with his terrible efficiency. So with Branham, I think he's going to play a lot down the stretch. He's not exactly a great source for rebounds and assists, but if you need some scoring, Malaki Branham is someone I would add.
He's been proving it lately. He's been like a regular in the rotation since like December. And recently getting more time with, you mentioned all the injuries, especially Vassell, Langford, guys like that. But I kind of just forgot about him. Like, he was a first-round pick this year.
Yeah.
You know, they drafted him 20th overall. So, you know, it didn't look – I mean, he was good in Summer League, too. I remember his name a little bit from Summer League. I didn't think this would be happening. But, yeah, I completely agree with that ad. I tried to add him last week in our 16-team stake league and fell short. And so Xavier Tillman remains on my roster.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, well, he had like 2 good games. And I was like, you know what? This is sneaky. And then little too sneaky. So my first suggestion this week is Shaedon Sharpe, who's 21% roster in Yahoo League. So we have Anthony Simons. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, he could be out a month plus. But if you need steals specifically, I might actually endorse a Thybulle ad instead. So depending on what you need in your league, that could be the way I would go. But that's for specific situations. However, with that case, there's a lot of buts and howevers here. Jeremy Grant has been out over the past 2 games. So that's going to complicate the wing rotation for Portland. So if you're someone who's been like, I'm keeping my eye on Cam Reddish, I'm keeping my eye on Thybulle, maybe Nas Little if you're in like a 20-team league or something, Jeremy Grant's been out the past 2 games. So it's important to note that. But Shaedon Sharpe, the guy I'm actually suggesting, past 4 games, 14 points per game on 62% shooting from the field. All of those feel like dunks, highlight dunks to me. This also includes 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1.8 stocks. That's awesome. I think the Blazers are going to tell them to be more aggressive on defense because they moved Josh Hart, they moved Gary Payton, and I think their hope is that Shaedon Sharpe can just kind of be that guy for them, just kind of come in there and with his athleticism muck things up. This is also kind of similar production that he's had historically with Simons, Hart, Payton off the court per 36 minutes. Again, this is not amazing production, right? 14, 4, and 2 with 1.8 stocks, but the field goal percentage is really nice. And if you're in a deeper format, with the Simons injury, I think Sharpe's a guy, or even Thybulle, that you got to take a look at adding. Let's go to your second suggestion, who is a guy that I loved highlighting, and I think got kind of lost in the shuffle of all the deadline moves.
Yeah, let's go with Talen Horton-Tucker of the Jazz. He's currently available in 74% of Yahoo leagues. Last 5 games, he's averaging 13.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 7 assists, and 1.2 blocks. He averaged 26 minutes over that span. Look at the Jazz. They don't have any guard depth, moving away from Conley and Beasley at the trade deadline. They brought in Westbrook, but obviously he's being bought out. Then we had Colin Sexton go down in their last game with a hamstring injury. Who knows if he's going to miss some time. Maybe he won't. Maybe we'll get lucky here with the All-Star break. But even if he doesn't miss any time, Horton-Tucker now is locked into bigger minutes off the bench. He's someone I would specifically add if you're looking for assists because he's got some good shooters around him. You know, you still got Kelly Olynyk, you still got Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson. So I think he could be a great source for assists if you're looking for it.
Yeah, it's been whenever I watched the Jazz games earlier in the year, I was kind of impressed by Horton-Tucker and was a little surprised he wasn't playing more, just the energy he brought, the size he has. But this assist, I mean, the 6 assists in each of the past, 5 games, minimum 6 assists. And I just had to update his projections yesterday. And it was a little tough to gauge because it's like, well, the minutes have kind of been all over the place, and the rebounds and the points are inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's weird because you think of Horton-Tucker and you're like, well, that guy's gonna score, but that's been up and down, and the rebounding, but the assists are steady. And you mentioned it. If you take a look at this depth chart, it's like, well, you're starting Sexton and Clarkson, and then they don't have a backup point guard, and so Horton-Tucker is taking on that role. And Abaji is just not. He's not a guy right now. He's not scoring, handling a ton for them. And who even knows about Rudy Gay? Like, how long is Rudy Gay going to continue playing 15, 20 minutes a game for this team? So Horton-Tucker is, again, another guy I tried to add before, couldn't get him. And I think even in a standard league, right? Like, this is standard league.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Maybe 10 teamers, depending on your format, especially if you need assists. I mean, who else is out there getting six assists per game on the waiver wire? That's a great suggestion. My suggestion, Donte DiVincenzo, 44% rostered in Yahoo. Steph Curry is set to miss at least a few more quote unquote games after the All-Star break. Who knows what that really means? And in the 5 games that Curry's been out recently, we got DiVincenzo averaging 13 points on 49, 100 shooting, 4 assists, 1.6 boards, 1.4 steals. We've seen him do this before. So that's what makes this suggestion easier, right? Curry was out earlier in the year. DiVincenzo stepped into a starting role. He's a stat sheet stuffer at the guard position, right? Great rebounder, great steals guys, hitting more threes than ever before in this Golden State offense. And he's a guy too where if I add him now, I'm okay holding him the rest of the year. This isn't necessarily like, oh, Curry's out. The second Curry comes back, I have to drop DiVincenzo. It's like, no, there's always a chance Curry gets hurt again. If anybody in the Warriors backcourt that gets hurt, DiVincenzo is going to get more minutes. He's one of those guys. So if you need just like general production on your fantasy team, if you're in a roto league and you're just kind of behind, he's a great guy you can add. He's functional in points leagues too. It's not just all percentages based. And again, he's sort of a proven commodity at this point. I like your third suggestion here because it's a guy. Basically, he's a backup now. I'll let you take it away.
We're going deep. We've got to go deep. We're going to go with Nick Richards of the Charlotte Hornets, available in 92% of Yahoo leagues. So if you're in a deep league, he's out there. The big news from the trade deadline was Mason Plumlee getting shipped off to the Clippers. So Mark Williams was the hot waiver wire ad. If you were lucky enough to get him in your league, he's paying immediate dividends. But Richards, who had fallen out of the rotation when Mark Williams moved into the primary backup behind Plumlee, is now the primary backup again. Over the last 4 games, he's averaged 20 minutes a game. That's helped him produce an average of 7.5 rebounds, 1.8 blocks, and he's shooting 56.3% from the field. So he's worth deploying in deeper, 12 or deeper leagues now. If you need some help, probably better off for a 14 league. But if you're desperate, if anything happens to Mark Williams, I mean, you're looking at a guy here who could approach 30 minutes a night. He'd be a walking double-double. Even as he is now in his current role of 20 minutes a night, he's worth adding in deeper leagues.
Yeah, and he's someone too where he gets fouled a ton.
Yeah.
Like in his 17 minutes per game on the season, he takes 3 free throws, which for a center who basically is doing nothing but offensive rebounding, and like that's actually a lot, relatively speaking. And he's shooting 73% from the free throw line. So he's a center who's getting you those traditional big man stats, right? If you gave him 30 minutes, he gets you 10 and 10 with 2 blocks. But he's also not killing you on the free throw percentage, and he's getting there. So if you're in category leagues, that's actually going to help you. It's not going to hurt you, I guess, is the better way to put this. And yeah, you have to. This is important stuff to think about after the trade deadline. It's like, well, okay, a starter got moved, so now the backup's the starter. Well, who's the backup to that guy? And we can sort of go down the line. This is what happens in a lot of different situations. My final waiver wire suggestion, I was surprised that I was suggesting it. There were other guys around that I was considering, right? Like I was looking at the roster rates, and it's like, well, I could suggest Daniel Gafford because he's 44% rostered. KJ Martin's out there. Everyone kind of knows about that. So I'm giving you Josh Richardson of now the New Orleans Pelicans. So in his debut, he played 34 minutes. Not sustainable because CJ McCollum was out, but he goes for 10 points, 5 steals, 2 blocks, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. In the following game, he plays only 19 minutes, but partially because he was ejected in the fourth quarter. That was against the Lakers. And even in 19 minutes, he still finishes with 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. And the reality is, like, the Pelicans, they gave up a decent amount for him. Like, the Pelicans traded Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks for Richardson. So they're gonna play him. And I think, we got Zion out for a while still, like, right? Zion's going to miss another month. I think there's like 20 to 26 minutes a game here available for Richardson. And he's proven to be a good defender pretty much all season long, with some assists upside as well. So I think if you're in a deeper league, again, he's 22% rostered. If you're in a 16 to 18 team league, I think you should take a look and just at least add him to your watch list, because there's a chance he's going to play like a sixth man type role for the Pelicans. So that's a guy I was a little surprised about, but I think he's worth at least watch listing.